Okay, for the second part of the Chapter 3 opener, Maintaining Mathematical Proficiency, we're going to work on factoring special products, okay, or factoring polynomials. Now, you may or may not have gotten to this in Algebra 1, so we're going to review how to do this, okay? But there's a pattern when we get to these type of quadratics, okay? And so that's why we're doing this before we get to solving them within the chapter, so that way you can get used to how to factor them very quickly without needing to go through the big steps. All right, so if we think of our quadratic equation where we get ax squared plus bx plus c, okay, this equation right here would be x squared plus 0x minus 4, okay, where a is 1, b is 0, c is negative 4. And to solve or factor quadratics, you need to take a times c, and in this case we're going to get a is 1 here, so I'm going to get 1 times negative 4, so I get negative 4. We want to list all the factors of negative 4, so the things that multiply to negative 4. Well, negative 4 and a positive 1, a negative 1 and a positive 4, a negative 2 and a positive 2. And I can't think of any other factors. So those are all my factors. And I want the factors that add up. They need to add up to, well, here, let's do it this way. Add up to b. Okay, and in this case, our b, which is 0. Well, if I add these, I get negative 3. If I add these, I get 3. If I add these, I get 0. So to me, it looks like negative 2 and 2 are my factors. So I would write this as x plus, or I'm sorry, I wrote the minus 2 first. Doesn't matter the order, but minus 2 times x plus 2. So this factored, whoops, forgot my parenthesis, is that. Okay, so if you notice a shortcut, okay, to get just one side of this, if I were to take the square root of x squared, I get x. And if I take the square root of, well, just think of the 4, not the negative. Can't take square root of a negative at this point. But square root of 4 is 2, and I keep that sign. Anytime you have two perfect squares, something you can take square roots of and get something that doesn't have a decimal, and they are subtracted, okay, so there's wanting the difference between the two, then your answer will always be the square root of those. One of the parentheses will have the plus, and one of the parentheses will have the minus. All right? So it has to have the minus. If you had x squared plus 4, you actually can't factor that. So it has to have the minus in between. All right, so let's move on to number 4 here. All right, so I said the steps were take a times c. So in this case, it's 1 times 49. So it's 49. So I need the factors of 49. So you have 1 and 49. And since it's positive, remember that a negative times a negative is also positive. Okay? Negative times negative makes positive. And then I have a 7 times a 7 and a negative 7 times a negative 7. Okay, no even number goes into 49. Those are the only numbers that go into 49. But they need to add to b, which in this case is a negative 14. The only factors that add up to negative 14 are negative 7 and negative 7. So that means this factors to x minus 7 times x minus 7. Notice those are the same thing. So it is x minus 7 squared. So if you look at your quadratic and you can take a square root of this number, and that square root is a whole number, and that whole number times 2 is this number, you can always just square root both the x squared and c, put it in your parentheses, and match this sign. So if that's a positive sign, you'd put a plus. If it's a minus sign, you'd put a negative. All right, so now go to the practice. and do problems 9 through 14. And then submit your practice into Big Ideas, and then submit your score into Canvas.